And building all these means that whenever I'm feeling down, whenever I'm feeling not good, I can pick myself up much more quickly because so many different ways are available to me. Every time we feel happy, every time we feel ecstatic, every time we feel a pleasure, happiness, joyous, gratitude, all of that is coming from that inner source of bliss. So whether someone is making us happy because of their actions or because of what they are doing, or they're giving us something, or if I am doing something and that's making me happy, all of these experiences of mine, they're all coming from the same inner source of bliss. So I just want to put together some experiences that we may have had. And for example, we are walking in a trail, nature trail, and then suddenly the trail opens up and there is this beautiful scenery of a huge lake, and on the other side is enclosed in mountains, trees, and everything is perfectly serene. And it's so beautiful that you just take a breath. You actually catch your breath for a moment. And then when you realize that, you take a deep breath in, you are at perfect peace. That peace is also accessing our inner bliss. If we are doing yoga, we are trying and learning a new pose, and it's been a bit challenging bending the body in a particular way. It's not working out. And then after a few weeks of practice, suddenly that particular pose becomes accessible to us, and you feel a joy, you feel a pleasure, and you feel it so wonderful that you keep trying to make yourself do that pose through the day, just to feel that joy of being able to do that particular pose, or just because you feel you enjoy the way your body feels as you're doing that. That is also inner bliss. For me, ginger tea, first thing in the morning or in the afternoon, freshly brewed, gives me joy. So that joy, that happiness is also accessing our inner bliss. So what would be wonderful is for us to sort of look at the entire day, 24 hours, on a routine basis. How many such spots do we have? How many such events or incidents do we have where we feel that joy, that happiness, that pleasure? And each one of those is us experiencing our inner bliss. And if we can stack our day throughout the day with all these micro doses of happiness, then we are very, very close to accessing our inner bliss in much more regular fashion than we would have found it to be. Why do I say these micro doses? Is because when we talk about bliss, people think of one big, huge, blissful moment in the life. And that is perfect. But those huge, blissful moments when you're in absolute ecstasy, absolute serenity, they happen once in a while. What about the rest of the day? Knowing that our inner bliss, the source is the same, if we can start making smaller trips to access that bliss and make it a part of us. And so if I have a cup of tea, for example, that gives me joy, for me to feel the joy when I'm drinking the tea, after a while, it extends to expecting that tea. So it starts before I drink my tea. And since I'm doing it regularly, it also extends to after I have finished drinking my tea. So it's no longer just about drinking the tea, it's the time before and the time after. So I've extended the impact that I have when I'm able to access that inner bliss in that small, mundane, routine, daily action. If I can do that regularly through the day, so maybe first hour, few incidences, next hour, few incidences, next hour, few incidences, then what happens is that I am able to sort of have a continuous access to that inner bliss. And at times when I am really feeling down, really feeling pain even, I'm away from that inner bliss, but I then have many different ways to sort of lift myself out of that, because I have built all these small, small channels that are able to take me to my inner bliss and let me experience that inner bliss from within. And building all these means that whenever I'm feeling down, whenever I'm feeling not good, I can pick myself up much more quickly, because so many different ways are available to me. If I just focus on inner bliss as that one big event, like I said in the beginning, going to a particular nature trail and then seeing this beautiful scenery, it's really ecstatic, serene, peaceful. Then if when I'm down, I'm not able to pick myself up until I go and have that particular experience. And that sort of makes me experience that feeling of being down and, anxious or whatever that state for me was, for a much more longer period, because I don't have these smaller ways and methods of coming out of that. So build smaller channels and many, many channels as we start accessing our inner bliss. And as I was talking about these smaller channels, I just had insight as to yoga and our body. So there is this concept of biotensegrity. If you have heard of that, let me know. There is this concept of biotensegrity that says that, it's not the big muscles alone that help us move our body, it's the smaller muscles as well. So what that concept says is that very often we focus on strengthening our bigger muscles in the body, especially when we are strength training or we are doing yoga as well. We are focusing on bigger muscles of the body. So the thighs or the calf or the back or the front abdominal muscles, the hand muscles. But then we have many, many more muscles. And there was this engineer who looked at it and he said that if I need to build a steady base, I need to look at the smaller connections as well. The moment I have many smaller connections connecting me to that bigger piece, then the whole structure becomes much more balanced and much more stable. And what they did is they took that engineering concept and applied it to the human body and said that it's the smaller muscles as well that help to keep us stable. And very often we forget that these smaller muscles even exist. And we think, okay, I just need to strengthen these bigger muscles and then I'm done. No, we are not done. We need to exercise the smaller muscles. So for example, I'm looking at these, right? Am I doing these movements? It's a different set of muscles than just this movement in the hand. So exercising our body in 360 degrees sort of exercises the smaller muscles. And by doing that, we are building strength and stability in the physical body. So this is the concept of biotensegrity. And I'm taking that and applying it to our inner bliss as well, to say that bigger incidences when we are in absolute ecstasy, absolute peace, calm. It's so overwhelming that I can't even speak. I'm lost for words. Those are wonderful. We need to hold on to that. While we are experiencing that, we also need to build these smaller channels that allow us to access our inner bliss. Bliss is available at all times. It's our filters that prevent us from accessing the bliss. So the more ways that we can find to remove these filters and say, oh, this gives me bliss. It's the way I move my hand in a particular way or my leg in a particular way, just swinging my leg, that gives me bliss. Even though in my mind it's a very, very small, minute amount of bliss, it is still nevertheless bliss. And you will find that children, when they are excited, they like to skip around. If they cannot, just walk, they like to run around or skip around. And as they are skipping around, there is this feeling of joy in their faces, is because they are experiencing joy at the way their own body is moving. We as adults, very often, we have lost that touch with our body and are not able to associate our body with experiencing bliss. So these experiences, when we start adding it to our daily life, and intellectually as well, if I'm looking at a particular concept and I'm in that flow state where my mind is in a zen state of figuring out solutions, or coming up with creative ways to look at something, when I'm drawing, when I'm painting, all of these are ways that we can start accessing our inner bliss. So my simple suggestion would be, take stock how many such ways that we have to access our inner bliss: small, big, medium, large, extra large, doesn't matter. And then start increasing that amount of channels that we have to access our inner bliss.